Hey everybody, this is Joric. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about the top 5 reasons I think you should visit my new home country of Lisbon, Portugal. As always, if you happen to like my videos, please click the like button and subscribe. That helps me. Please tell a friend as well if they're interested in travel videos, especially about Portugal and Europe. So with this, please also look in the description as you watch this video because I'm going to have a number of ideas and recommendations based upon my top 5. So without much further ado, let's get after it. Okay, so let's start with number 5. So the fifth most important reason to visit Lisbon, Portugal is history, or the history of Lisbon. You may not realize this, but Lisbon is older than London, Paris, or Rome. It's kind of weird because most people go to those places and Lisbon is often overlooked, and not many people realize that Lisbon is actually older than those cities, which you think are more established, but actually it's Lisbon. And the history in and of itself, just walking the streets, seeing the architecture, the tile on the buildings, which is called azulejo, that is something that is just stunning because you could walk down a street several times and see something different, pick out some nuance of different buildings or just the way the light hits certain structures. You have the Praça do Comércio, which is a main area. If you're coming in on a ship, most likely you're going to be walking through that area to get into the main tourist area or district of Lisbon, which is the Baixa area or the lower area. There's a number of museums in this city which are all amazing and just chock full of history. You have the Alfalma, which is an old district, windy little streets. You have people putting their laundry out, plants on their balconies, just very charming. I will say very Instagram friendly. In the Chiado area, I call it the high rent district. It's where a lot of the shopping is, so it's a main tourist destination. The Barrio Alto, which is next to it, it's where a lot of the nightlife takes place. So whether you're older or younger, you want to go have a pint or a cocktail or wine, that's a place that you're going to want to go. Farther west out of the main city center is called a place called Belém or Belém. It is an area that has several monuments, Geronimo's Monastery. They also have a monument to the discoveries because, as many of you may realize, that Portugal's kingdom started by a bunch of people getting in a boat and discovering several countries around the world. So compliments of Vasco da Gama, Henry the Navigator, Cabral, Magellan, just to name a few. This place has it when it comes to history. A couple of things that I want to tell you about. So, 2 recommendations. First, something to skip. You'll see on many of the attractions, top 5 things to do, the Santa Justa elevator. It's cool to take a picture of. It looks similar, the wrought iron structure, to like almost a leg of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. I got to be honest, I'd skip it. You pay money to go up a few floors, and then you get a beautiful view of the city. So I can't discredit that. But you could actually walk through the Chiado up to the Convent de Cormo, which is an old convent that was destroyed in the 1755 earthquake, tsunami, and fire that hit Lisbon. And right next to it, walk right up to the top, and next to the convent is the top floor of the Santa Justa lift. So you can go there, and I think it's $1 to get up to the very top observation deck, and it saves you a little bit of money from actually waiting 20 or 30 minutes to take a 10-second ride up an elevator. It really isn't. It looks cooler than what it is, that's for sure. My other recommendation, as you're looking at videos and as you're reading about Lisbon, you're going to see something called Miradouro, which are overlooks. Many times when you see panoramic video or photos of Lisbon, you're going to be seeing them from these Miradouro vantage points. It's hard to take a bad picture there. Sometimes they get crowded, sometimes they're not. but there are several all over the city that give you a beautiful vantage point of different parts of Lisbon. It's on a number of hills. Lisbon's built on 7 hills. So, with that, you really have a great opportunity to take wonderful photos and just sit back and relax and take in the history that is Lisbon. All right. That was number 5. Number 4, the wine. Now, this isn't specific to Lisbon, but if you come here, you got to have the wine. Portuguese wine is ridiculously good, and also compared to living in the US, ridiculously cheap for great wine here. If you imagine the whole country from the far north to the tip at the far south, it's all wine country. It's like one big country of nothing but wine. There's several different variety of grapes. There's hundreds of wineries that litter this countryside, the whole country. It's an incredible. So if you are a wine fanatic, if you're a wine aficionado, if you're a wino, this is certainly the place to be to get it. Many people think of Portugal and they think of port wine from Porto in the Douro Valley wine region, which is in the north, and rightfully so because it is world famous for that. So kind of a sweeter dessert wine. But I can tell you from experiencing wine in several countries around the world, Portugal is as good as any other. It's absolutely amazing with its selection of red and white wines. So, as much as number 4 isn't necessarily about Lisbon, when you're here, I really encourage you and I recommend you try the reds and the whites, the rosés, as well as the ports, but try something different each time because every region within Portugal has their own kind of blends and styles, if you will. There's a few grapes that are similar, but because the topography, meaning the land and the climates are a little bit different, you get a little different taste and texture in them. But I strongly encourage that if you're going to come here, you really got to do the wine. If you're into cocktails and mixed drinks, that's fine, but try to add in some wine along the way. If you're into beer, there are some craft beer in Lisbon specifically and in Portugal. But as you're tooling around and going from different snack bars and restaurant venues and just enjoying maybe a glass at a Miradoro and taking in the history and the beauty of Lisbon, I strongly encourage you to go to a garrafaria, which is a wine store or a alcohol store, and pick something up. Go to the local grocery store. You'd be amazed what a $5 bottle of wine tastes like here compared to, let's say, the United States or some other countries. That same bottle, as far as quality, might cost you $20, $30, $40. So take advantage while you're visiting to do the wine. I would say be equal opportunity. Try it all. So if number 4 is wine, number 3's got to be the food, right? Lisbon is known as a foodie's paradise. So if you love food, you're really going to love Lisbon. In fact, you may not see a lot of Lisbon because you're stuck in restaurants, in tascas and snack bars, just trying all the different food. There is a great variety just because of Portugal's history and specifically Lisbon. There's influences from all over the world here, and it's a very cosmopolitan city, so you can get literally everything here. Now, what you will get a heavy rotation of is cod or bacalhau. I always say that wrong, but it's basically cod. They have a million different ways to make it for you. Oddly enough, cod is not indigenous to Portugal or off the Atlantic coast of Portugal. They import it from Norway and Scandinavian countries, so it's sort of weird that the home item, if you will, or the resident thing that they're known for food-wise doesn't come from here. But it's amazing in some of the dishes that they create. So get used to having cod, whether you're here for a day or a week or a month. You're going to see cod on the menu just about everywhere. One thing to keep in mind is that restaurants here with the European or more Iberian influence of Portugal and Spain, many of the traditional restaurants are going to close from, let's say, 3 to 7 in the afternoon. So if you're trying to get lunch in, you need to do that before that time. Otherwise, you may be stuck waiting until 7 or later to get dinner. Um, Meals here in Portugal, dinner anyway, is later. So oftentimes, again, if places aren't opening up till 7, 8 o'clock at night, they will extend through midnight as far as their serving hours. But one recommendation, as you're looking on maps and you're trying to plot through your day, if you happen to look up anything that's called a Tosca, Tosca, or snack bar, so just simple name snack bar, if you see that on the maps, generally speaking, they're going to be open from midday, lunchtime through dinner. So if for some reason, if you're going around, you get lost and kind of lose track of time, which it's easy to do here in Lisbon, just remember that if you look for a snack bar, it will be open. It will be able to serve you food while the traditional restaurants are closed. Also, a couple of things to keep in mind when you're here in Lisbon. Something that you've got to try, because you're going to see this on every video and you're going to see this in a lot of the literature, are pastéis de nata, or pastel de nata, and it's a little egg custard tart. And this thing, you're going, okay, so what's the big deal? Well, when you come here and you try them, you'll realize what the big deal is. Many of these snack bars I just referenced will have them. They're most likely not made by them. They're getting them from large producers who make them daily. But there are a couple of places in Lisbon that I'm going to mention in the description that you're going to have to try, because when you get a warm, fresh egg custard tart, this pastel de nata, it's amazing. I would say it's life-changing. It's going to be something that you're going to want to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which won't help your waistline, but it'll make you feel better, if anything else. So codfish, the bacalhau, you're going to get a lot of. You'll see the pastéis de nata, especially in the tourist areas. So that's something to please try. They have amazing pastries here. Probably not what you would get in France or in Paris, but pretty good. And I'll say something that's underestimated: the bread. The bread in Lisbon, the bread in Portugal, is very, very good. It's not something that we had read or seen anything about in our travels. So I want to make sure that if you watch this and as you're thinking about having meals, make sure that you try the bread, because it's absolutely incredible here. Number 3 is the food. Number 2 is the people. I got to be honest, when we were researching places to live and we wanted to settle in Lisbon, something that drew us here was our trips and just getting to know some of the people. Friendly, helpful, especially to a foreigner who didn't speak the language, with directions. That was something that not all cities have. There's a reason that Portugal, in and of itself, is the third safest country in the world. I think that's the second year running that it's the case, and it's because of the people. Very helpful, I would say. Even if you don't speak the language, just trying to point directions when it goes to finding something. Usually, tourists or people that are new here, you know the names of attractions, so they can at least give you some directions and tell you what streets to get to those places. Also, for recommendations for food and wine, we have been superbly impressed by the people that we've met here. Just genuine, nice, quiet, except when there's football going on, soccer, for sure. Things can get pretty rowdy, but for the most part, everyone here has been super helpful. And if you're visiting Lisbon, most likely you're going to be in the tourist areas. So they're all going to speak English either as well as you or pretty close. Something that's kind of a weird quirk that I want to let you know is that The movies here, if they happen to be English movies, they're shown in English with Portuguese subtitles or no subtitles at all. And then television shows. So on our channels, or if you happen to be visiting in your hotel or your short-term rental, you will find many of the channels are in English, so you're going to get much of the programming you get back, let's say in the United States or the UK, with Portuguese subtitles. So it's sort of a weird thing because in many other countries, you have to learn some of the language or just mute the sound because you're not going to understand anything, or try to adjust the settings to English to where you could get English subtitles. But here, because people are so used to watching English movies, programming, TV shows, as well as listening to English music, that's not something you have to worry about. Now, it's always considerate to try to learn some of the language so that you have some understanding, because I think when we've learned some Portuguese before we moved here and now after, it's really gone a long ways to endear us and has opened the doors to several people that we've been able to talk to and call friends. But when you're visiting, again, whether it be for a day or a few days, it's super safe. It's not something where you have to worry about going out at night, and you have situational awareness of you're not going to leave your purse just on a table with no one there, but you don't have issues with um, crime like you do in most cities around the world and many European cities. This, for some reason, is just a laid back. It's got a laid back vibe. So whether it be Portuguese citizens who live here or expats, or if you're just visiting as a tourist, it seems to draw people that want to relax, chill out, and take it easy. And I think that very much describes the people here. So you can't go wrong with number two, which is the people. Which brings me to number one, which is the cost. So going through the top five, you have the history, you have the wine, the food, the people. But I think the most important decision that many people make when deciding on a trip or where to visit is how much is it going to cost? And quite honestly, with Lisbon being the gateway into Europe, being very close to the US, being able to get direct flights, they're mostly affordable depending on time of season, depending on how far you book in advance. But I will say this, that your dollar will go a long ways here. It's one of the most affordable capital cities in Europe, so it's more affordable than, let's say, a London or a Paris or a Rome. So just as you convert your dollars into euros, or you're using your credit card and working through the exchange fees of that once you get back home, it's really an affordable place to be able to get food. As I mentioned previously, you can get a great bottle of wine for $4 or $5. You can get an exceptional bottle of wine for $10, and you get an insane bottle for, let's say, 20 or 30. So food costs, you may get a meal for as little as $4 or $5 for that meal. You could pay up to a couple $100 if you're going to a Michelin star place. But travel throughout Lisbon, they have trams, buses, metro. Also, your feet work well because the city center is so condensed that you can walk around and see so much stuff. They also have Uber here, so if you have the Uber app, you can use that. I will say Uber here is much more economical than it is anywhere in the US driving similar distances. So your dollar is going to go farther. You'll be able to do and see more in Lisbon. And so for me, that's what I think and why I put the number one reason being the cost, is because you're just going to be able to experience more here than several other cities, just because your dollar is going to get you there. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, don't forget to click the subscribe button, hit the like button, send it to your friends if anyone else is considering coming to Lisbon. And also don't forget to look in the description, because I've got a lot of information that I put in there regarding my top five and some recommendations. Thank you and have a great day.